Alhamdulillah, praise and thanks be to Allah. Peace and blessings be upon all His prophets and messengers, alayhimus salam, especially upon the last prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Wa nazzalna alayka al-kitab tibyanan likulli shay'in wa hudan wa rahmatan wa bushra lil muslimin. Sadaqallahu al-azim. Normally, whenever I deliver a lecture, I have some topic in mind, but I'm not sure what should I call this topic even. However, we can call this topic something like the divine system of time for humankind as prescribed by Allah versus the Satanic-Dajjalic system of time. Or we can also call this topic something like the ideal daily schedule of a human. I prepared some notes for me to refer. This is going to be an interesting topic, an important topic, and a neglected one as well. We never hear any discussion on this topic, whether through a lecture or through written material. That's very unfortunate. That's the sad reality of the Muslim Ummah per se. I did not say the ideal daily schedule of a Muslim. I did not say that. I said the ideal daily schedule of a human. Things will become clear as we unravel and unfold this topic. What is the ideal schedule of a human? If we understand or try to understand time, then the way we understand it or perceive it is 24 hours, though that need not be necessarily the way to divide time. There can be different ways, but since that's become commonly accepted and understood and relatable and a sort of medium of exchange for communication, we will stick to that. In the 24-hour slot, what we normally do is we have a 8-hour sleep schedule, we have a 8-hour work schedule, and the balance 8 hours is whatever else we need to do in a day, we fit in that. That's what our current normal schedule is. You might have, before we delve into this topic a little bit deeper, you might be wondering, what is this? Time is time. What is Allah's time vis-a-vis Satanic time, Dajjalic time? What is this all about? So you might be confused about that. I'll clarify. I agree that the sleep requirement of a human being, irrespective of he or she is a Muslim or a non-Muslim, doesn't matter. It's the same. So the innate nature of any human being, that's the same. So I agree that the sleep requirement of any human being is roughly around 8 hours. I'll go into more details as we proceed. What I'll do is to rearrange and sort of arrange for you an optimal schedule as corroborated by science, research, studies, and according to the Islamic principles. That is what we are going to do. So the first thing that I'll inform you, or we can have different starting points for this discussion. We can use salah or prayer times as a starting point. We can have sleep as a starting point. We can have work as a starting point. And we can have food as a starting point, or we could use any other thing as a starting point, the rest or the balance of it, right? But we could potentially use salah or prayer as a starting point, but that is known to us, right? We have the 5 waqt, the daily schedule of prayers, right? Fajr, Zuhr, Asr, Maghrib, Isha. We have that. And if some of us pray tahajjud as well, then you can add tahajjud to that list. That's simple, that's fair enough. So those times are fixed, but how do we arrange the other aspects of our daily schedule is more important, more so because that is not widely known to us. It's unfortunate, it's sad, but that's the reality. What I'll do is I'll inform you certain things as we proceed. I'll inform you certain data points as we proceed, and we'll take it from there on. So yeah, I do agree that the ideal sleep requirement for a human being is about 8 hours, but precisely, if you want to be more precise, then it's actually 8 hours, 38 minutes, 42 seconds. Sorry, 24 seconds. So 8 hours, 38 minutes, 24 seconds. That's the precise sleep requirement of a human. It can be a little more or little less, that's okay, but on an average, that's the requirement. There is a concept, a research-based concept, which is known as polyphasic sleep pattern. Now, most of us, we follow a monophasic sleep pattern, that we sleep for a single window of time, and that is our night sleep, right? So 8 hours. The ideal time for that sleep is roughly from 20:00 hours to 04:00 hours the next day. That's 8 hours, right? That's the ideal one. That would be the monophasic sleep pattern. Most of us shift it more towards the night, so we wake up, we have a tendency to wake up more towards after sunrise, sort of, right? So that is the ideal, and that is what is generally followed today. Now, the concept of polyphasic sleep pattern as against the monophasic sleep pattern that we all tend to follow these days is something like this, that if you break the monophasic sleep pattern into 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc., then the requirement of sleep for a human being reduces. This is research-based, evidence-based, and it said that when you increase from 1 to 2, your sleep requirement reduces by roughly 1 hour 12 minutes. So instead of 8 hours 38 minutes 24 seconds, it would be 7 hours 26 minutes 24 seconds roughly. So 1 hour 24 minutes is what it reduces by. And if we can, so that would be a biphasic. So what is polyphasic? Polyphasic means anything above 1. 1 is monophasic, anything above 1, whether it is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, everything can be called polyphasic. So biphasic, if you are following, then 7 hours 26 minutes 24 seconds suffices. If you make it into triphasic sleep pattern, it actually reduces even further by 1 hour 12 minutes, so it becomes 6 hours 14 minutes 24 seconds. So 6 hours 14 minutes 24 seconds would be the requirement then. Some people have suggested the maximum that I know of or I have heard of is breaking the sleep schedule into, what should I say, 6-phasic. 6 would be some sort of hexaphasic sleep pattern. That would be a polyphasic sleep pattern as well. And they say every 4 hours, so 4 into 6, 6 slices, right? 4 into 6 is 24 hours. Every 4 minutes, we'll sleep for 20 minutes. So 20 minutes into 6 is 120 minutes, which is 2 hours. So 2 hours of sleep would suffice for a human being. So this is what research suggests. I am not saying that that is wrong, but I'm saying it's hugely impractical. Why? Because those who have proposed this model, are they themselves following that? And the answer is no, because it is absolutely impossible to follow, impractical to follow. Suppose in 4 hours, someone, I mean, it's sort of antisocial. If we don't call it antisocial, asocial would be a more appropriate term. It's not social at all. So in a 4 hours, that coincides, that 20 minutes coincides with the sleep requirement pattern for the day, and someone comes to visit you. Someone else on your behalf would have to inform him, hey, this is my 20-minute sleep schedule now. So, I mean, you can understand the chaos that it would create. And again, in the next 4 hours, 20 minutes. So I'm not saying it's theoretically wrong, but it's practically impossible. What does Islam say? You would be surprised. Many of you would be, most of you rather, would be surprised. Does Islam say something about sleep pattern, polyphasic sleep pattern as well? Yes, it does. What is tahajjud for? What exactly is tahajjud for? It is, I'll go in stages. Islam doesn't recommend biphasic. What it recommends, I'll come to it a little later. What is tahajjud for? It splits up your monophasic sleep pattern into a biphasic sleep pattern. At least that is clear. So the sleep requirement, it already reduces from 8 hours 38 minutes to 7 hours 26 minutes. And you are slicing away a time of 24 minutes. I'm keeping 24 minutes for tahajjud. It doesn't require that for most of us. But even if it does, let's say we are reducing 24 minutes, but our sleep requirement itself reduces by 1 hour 12 minutes. We are gaining, right? And do you know, Islam doesn't actually recommend a biphasic sleep pattern, it recommends a triphasic sleep pattern. You would say, how? Night sleep, monophasic, single window, break in tahajjud, roughly midway, 8 to 12, 20 hours to 23:59 or 00 hours, and 00 hours to 04 hours. So that's 8 hours. You're slicing away a time of 24 minutes. You're compensating that with qailula, which is, you can say, not sleep, but you can call it nap, right? Nap or rest. So now you have a triphasic sleep pattern. And what would that account for? That would account for a sleep requirement of 6 hours, 14 minutes, 24 seconds. And now I will help you calculate how much sleep are we actually getting if we try to follow the daily schedule as recommended by Islam. But we don't hear about it, so I'll just help you do that. So, okay. So now we will modify this rough window 8 to 4 slightly, and I'll be taking into consideration the Kolkata times, the Kolkata local times for prayer to fit in these schedules for you. You can follow your local time, but overall the principle will remain the same. In Kolkata, Isha, it varies. Every day Isha varies. But the latest Isha start time is 7:52, 1952. Okay, 7:52 p.m. So we cannot pray any prayer before time, right? So 7:52 throughout the year for Kolkata, it can be used as a starting point. So if it starts early, then you have actually more sleep, nothing to grumble about, nothing to be, there's no panic as such, right? You're getting more sleep in those days. But let's assume 7:52. Okay? So 7:52, instead of 20 hours, it's 19:52. We are blocking 24 minutes for our Salah, Isha Salah. We normally don't consume 24 minutes, but let's allocate 24 minutes for that. So it will be 8:16. After Isha Salah, there is no other activity for us. We will sleep. So it's just postponing by 16 minutes. We are rather readjusting, recalibrating the day. Nothing much. So roughly about 8 hours from there. We'll take a break at around midnight, 00 hours. So 23:59, then it's not called 24:00, it's called 00:00, right? 12 midnight basically. You take a break of 24 minutes. So what I'll do is 11:48 to 12:12. So 23:48 to 00:12. So that's 24 minutes. We're reducing 24 minutes from that block. Until where will we extend? We'll extend it to, I know that I'm still referring to that, 3:02. So midnight, 03:02 hours, 3:02 a.m. Why? I'll just come to it a little later. So we are getting this window 2016 to 3:02. How much is that? You can calculate that. We'll do that as well. And we are slicing out a 24 minutes slot away from that. Why did we fix it at 3:02? I'll come to that now. For Isha, we took the latest time. For Fajr, we'll take the earliest time. Fajr, throughout the year, again, it varies. Fajr varies every day. So the earliest start time for Fajr in Kolkata is 3:26. And if we allocate 24 minutes for Fajr, it will be 3:50 and we start our work, whatever, after that. So if 3:26 is the Fajr time earliest, if it's a little later, what happens in that case? If it's a little later, we get more sleep. Nothing to worry about, right? It's beneficial for you on both sides. I'm just taking the extremes and still show that you're getting more sleep than required. You're still getting more free time for yourself than required. That is exactly what we're coming to. So why is 3:02 into 3:26? I'll come to that aspect also. When we consider this sleep, what is the sleep? 2016 to 11:48, 2016 to 23:48, 0:12 to 3:02, and then the Qailula time, I'll tell you that also because we are calculating that. The Qailula time is from 11:36 to 12, just before noon. That's another 24 minutes. If you add them up, you are actually getting a sleep of 6 hours 46 minutes. You can calculate that. You would say for us the local time would vary. I agree, the local time would vary. But even then, even if the local time varies, it will not deviate significantly, and you can calculate that, right? It's not difficult to do that. 6 hours 46 minutes. And we have already converted it into a triphasic sleep pattern. I mean, both biphasic and triphasic is a polyphasic sleep pattern. So triphasic sleep pattern, the sleep requirement is 6 hours 14 minutes 24 seconds. We are getting 6 hours 46 minutes, around 31 minutes 36 seconds, roughly 31-32 minutes more. We are already getting more sleep, nothing to worry about. So this was about the sleep pattern, very important, and we neglect that. Now, Salah time, I'll talk about that as well. Isha, as I already said, 1952 or 8:52 p.m. And Fajr, I also already talked about, 3:26 so to 3:50. So 1950 to 2060 and 3:26 to 3:50, we have considered Isha and Fajr. Why we have started with Isha and Fajr is because the sleep, the majority, the bulk of the sleep is during that time, right? Then, most of us get confused about our food habits. I've already talked about sleep, and I've proven to you that we actually, if we try to follow the ideal schedule from the optimal perspective of a human being, from the human body, then this is the optimal schedule. And there are evidences for that, science-based and research-based and studies-based evidences are there, right? So that's there already. Most of us are also confused about a second very important thing for human beings, and that's food. We don't even know how many times we should have food, or even if we know what is the time for those food. I will speak with English terms and terminologies because we are accustomed to that. So normally we have 4 meals in a day, most of us: breakfast, lunch, snacks, and supper, right? You would be confused about the term supper as well. You would think, why am I not using the more common term dinner? I'll come to that also. So 4 terms, right? Breakfast, lunch, snacks, and supper. So these 4 terms. We have heard that. Normally, when do we have breakfast? Normally, for most of us, the schedule is after sunrise, we wake up and then we have breakfast. The ideal time to have, what is the meaning of breakfast? So there is a time of fasting, that is no food, and after that, you're breaking the fast. So when is the ideal time? So you have already fasted, you get up at 3:02, and then you have the breakfast. So that's why I allocated 24 minutes time at that time, 3:02 to 3:26. Now you understand why we sleep till 3:02 and not 3:26, right? So we are having breakfast at that time. Does anything ring a bell in your ears? That would be a suhoor time, isn't it? When we have some food during Saum, during the Ramadan month, the fasting month, we have before Fajr. When you have food, and normally what would doctors recommend? I mean, health and medical, all these studies recommend, let your breakfast be the most significant meal of the day. It provides energy to you throughout the day for your work and activities. So when you have suhoor, I mean not suhoor, let's call it breakfast, not call it suhoor, because suhoor is a technical term associated with certain things. Let's call it breakfast. The time for breakfast is that 3:02. Now when you have that, after that Fajr is the first activity and you already energized, and after Fajr you immediately start with work. Not later in the day, not after sunrise. No, that's the ideal time to start work. So we'll come to work a little later. Let's return to the timings for food. The ideal timing for food, for lunch, the next meal is, do you know what? It is at 11:12 a.m., 11:12 hours, right? Most of us, when do we have our lunch? We have it post noon. 12 noon, post that we usually have our lunch. So some may have it 1, some at 2, some others who follow extreme schedules or erratic schedules, maybe in 3, 4, highly not recommended, unrecommended. Ideal time is 11:12. I mean, we can go into the reasons, but let's not go into that. Let us try to keep this short so that it's easy for us to follow the schedule, as well as I'll give certain explanations, obviously. That's the best time to have your food. And when I was giving the same lecture in Bengali, Bangla, one of my associates, he was there for that, he attended that lecture as well. He said, hey, we have a precedent for this. India is a cricket crazy nation, and when we have the lunch break for the cricketers during a test match is actually around about that time. So we have a precedent. So the Britishers used to follow that. Now even they have forgotten that. So this is system that Islam prescribed, the system that the doctors prescribe. In fact, there is a term in Arabic for lunch as well. It's ghada, just as breakfast suhoor, the corresponding term. Lunch is ghada. And by the way, you should be familiar with this term because that term is present in Surah Kahf as well. And you've heard my lectures on Surah Kahf in English, in Bangla, and the Hindi and Urdu versions are also coming soon, inshallah. So ghada, in Surah Kahf, it's there. So that is a you can say forenoon meal. The term itself means a forenoon meal. That's lunch for you. So 11:12 to 11:36. The next meal is after Maghrib and before Isha. And do you know what it's called? It's called Asha. So you can clearly see there is a connection in the root word as well. Isha. So Isha and Asha. Isha is the prayer or the time for the prayer, and Asha is the food. The root words are connected by the root words, and it means a pre-Isha prayer meal. That is the night meal. So these three are the primary meals. You could also argue with me because you're intelligent people, and it's good to argue and it's good to think through rather than just follow blindly. I agree with that. So you say, what about iftar? Nice. So iftar technically means you are breaking the fast, and that typically happens. That's typically break fast, right? Because in the month of Ramadan, we are actually fasting through the day. So you're technically breaking the fast, right? So iftar. So iftar happens at Maghrib time, right? So let's say Maghrib, let's talk about Maghrib time also over here because that topic has come up. So 16:52, 4:52 p.m. is when Maghrib starts earliest in Kolkata. Otherwise, it's later. Why I'm considering? Because after work and after free time, we consider the earliest time. So the calculation is the minimum free time, right? After your work, post work. So if Maghrib is a little later, you're obviously getting more free time for yourself. Nothing to grumble about, isn't it? So anyway, if 16:52 is Maghrib time, you pray Maghrib. I'm allocating 24 hours. Good for you if you follow that. But I wonder if majority of us actually take 24 minutes. We don't. 3 rakah, also one of the shorter prayers, except for Fajr, which is 2 rakah, 2 units. We don't normally allocate 24 minutes, but even if we do, it's 5:16 p.m. After that, I'm saying iftar, 15:16 to 15:40, allocating 24 minutes again. You're smart people, I know that. You'd say, no, iftar actually happens at Maghrib time, not after Maghrib time, not after Maghrib. So I agree. What I'm technically saying, I'm allocating more time for other activities, and then I will prove to you the free time that you should have in a day is much more than the free time that you have today. And that is because the daily schedule has been messed up badly by certain forces, and we'll come to that also. So if we allocate, Maghrib is technically a time, and we're praying at that time, so it's called Maghrib prayer. So anyway, so if we allocate 24 minutes, and then we allocate for iftar, and then we allocate for our iftar, so 17:40 to 18:04, 5:40 to 6:04 p.m., another 24 minutes for what we already described as Asha, the supper. Then we are allocating 48 minutes. Ideally, there should not be 2 meals. Between Maghrib and Isha, there should ideally be only 1 meal. So that's your supper. So 48 minutes is too much time allocated, not required. Let us allocate, and still I'll show to you that how much more free time we actually have. Because if you're allocating more time to other activities, the free time calculation actually reduces. That's what I'm trying to do. So that's not 2 separate meals, that's 1 single meal, right? That's 1 single meal. So far we've got 3 meals. We have got breakfast, we've got lunch, we've got supper. And don't come back and tell me, I've already explained that iftar means breakfast. Okay, so those are different. I've already explained that. Don't try to bring in foolish arguments and ignore the core topic of discussion, the primary topic of discussion over here. But we are accustomed with more meals, no, three, some of us, right? Snacks, or most of us, snacks, which we typically take after Asr time. And because some of us delay the Asr, and what is Asr time, by the way, since the topic of Asr also came up? So we've already discussed Isha, we have not discussed Zohar, right? Let's discuss about Zohar also, which is 12 noon. Zohar is 12 noon. We already discussed about Maghrib, we've already discussed about Isha, we have omitted Asr. Asr, again, Asr time also is, all prayer times vary. So Asr, the latest time for Asr in Kolkata is 3:11 p.m. So 15:11. That's the Asr time. But most of us have a tendency to delay the Asr prayer. And so by 4:30, which is typically our sort of snacks time, we have that. We have the habit of that. But mostly it's after Asr. We are used to that. So I'll allocate 24 minutes for Asr, 15:11 to 15:35. That's 24 minutes. Immediately after that, we can have that snacks break. So from 15:35 to 15:59, we can have that. If we require. If we don't require, fine. Because at that time, during the time from Rasulullah or even earlier times, I mean, 3 meals suffices. Some of them did have 4. There is some precedence for that. In that time also, even before that, there is some precedence, so not denying that. But 3 meals suffices. So 4 meals is okay, 3 meals suffices. Some of them even had 2 meals, some even 1 meal per day. And that suffices for them. So all these modern terminologies, OMAD, 1 meal a day, I mean, these are new terminologies. These terminologies are fad, but the precedent is already there. Anyway, so we are not talking about extremes, we are talking about the normal schedule. So if you want to add the 4th meal, snacks is fine, the term is fine. The term actually used in Islam is qahwa. The qahwa does not really mean snacks, it means coffee. So sort of coffee break. So waqt qahwa. So just as we say tea break or coffee break or what, snacks break, something like that. Snacks time, something like that. So we are allocating 24 minutes for that as well. And then from that snacks break to Maghrib time, there is a free time. So I've talked about 4 meal times now. I've corresponded that with breakfast, lunch, snacks, and supper. Now, dinner, let me give you the information. Dinner is not a specific time when you have food. Dinner is the definition for the most significant or heavy meal that you should have in a day, right? So previously, if you have certain old books with you, you'd find breakfast, dinner, snacks, and supper. And you would be confused because you're not used to hearing dinner getting associated with lunch. But they call it dinner because lunch used to be their main meal of the day, which was a good thing for them. Even if breakfast you're not able to make it, lunch should be. Ideally, breakfast should. But even if you're not able to make that as your main meal of the day, lunch should, not supper. But today, most of us have made supper as a main meal and we call it dinner. So that thing also I have given you. So I have given you sleep times, the triphasic, polyphasic sleep time according to Islam. You're getting more sleep. And did I tell you? I obviously told you that is the latest time for Isha and the earliest time for Fajr. Normally what happens? You can pray early, you can delay Fajr. I'm not talking about the timings. Throughout the year I'm talking about. So getting more sleep, already whatever the squeezed time is already more than the sleep requirement that you need to have. So we've talked about sleep, we've talked about Salah timings. I guess, yes, I've covered all 5 Salah timings. I've talked about Tahajjud as well. I've talked about food timings. The most important things are already covered. Now the work schedule. When do we start work? Today. Most of us start work at 11, round about 11. And normally, I mean naturally, if 8 hours from 11 would be 7 p.m., 19 hours, right? Some work for 9 hours, 10 hours, so 8, 9 p.m. It's already past the Isha time and you've still not had food. You need to come back home, have food, sleep. Your sleep schedule is messed up. You'll never be able to wake up on time, which aligns with the circadian rhythm. Your biological clock, it gets badly messed up. So what is the work time recommended in Islam and which is beneficial for a human being, right? It's Fajr to Dhuhr. And that initially what did they say? 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. and 4 a.m. to 12 p.m. So that's another 12 hours, right? So we have already ended our Fajr Salah at 3:50, if you remember. So just preponing by 10 minutes. Those are rough calculations to sort of show to you 8 p.m. to 4 a.m., 4 a.m. to 12 p.m. We were actually simplistically dividing the day into 3 8-hour slots. That's what we were initially doing. And since you are actually, what are you doing? Yes, 11 is work time, then the lunch time we recommend is 11:12. So your work time ends at 11:12. You don't have more time. So 3:50 to 11:12. You'd say, okay, but we are starting 10 minutes early, but we are ending sort of 48 minutes early. So we are not getting the full 8 hours. What are we getting? We are getting roughly, not roughly, we are getting exactly 7 hours, 22 minutes. 7 hours, 22 minutes. I say those 7 hours, 22 minutes should suffice for you if you are focused in your work. 8 hours is not required. Those who work for 8 hours, they start their day at 11, then they take too many breaks. Tea break, coffee break, snacks break, this break, that break, other break, smoking break. That itself is haram. That itself is harmful. Even if you don't agree with Islam, that itself is harmful, right? Alcohol break is not for every day. Usually people, those who work in office settings, or otherwise they have it in weekends or so, maybe 11. Anyway, what I'm saying is 7 hours, 22 minutes focused work is more than enough for the 10 hours unfocused work that you do. Your energy levels are not up to that level. You are not able to focus up to that level. So 7 hours, 22 minutes suffices for us. So we've been able to fit in 4 of the most important things: sleep, work. Work reduces because of the triphasic nature of it. Sleep reduces because of the triphasic nature of it, polyphasic sleep pattern. And 6 is highly impractical, as I've already said. So sleep, work, food, salah, or prayer. We have done with these 4 things. Now, I'll talk about 2 things, both lunch and qailula, the rest or the nap that I talked about. Do you know when is qailula? Qailula is actually immediately after ghada, lunch, 11:12 to 11:36. We block that time for ghada, lunch, though usually it doesn't take that, 24 minutes. Qailula is immediately after that, 11:36 to 12 noon. You got your rest now, you had your food, you got your rest. Now, pray Zohar. How nice. How it sort of, I mean, we can go much more deep into it, but that's the order of it. So then you pray Zohar. After Zohar, what do? The entire day, Zohar to right up to Isha, you have the entire day for yourself. How much free time do we need? And we constantly keep crumbling. We don't have time. We have excess of time, only we are not following the time that was prescribed to us by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We're not doing that. Now, I'll talk about lunch and qailula once again. Both of these, if it is practiced, are practiced in the wrong time. And you would agree with me. Zohar 12 noon. Normally, sometimes Zohar is also delayed, which should not be delayed. And then they have lunch, and then they have, I should not call it qailula. I should call it sleep, because lunch after Zohar is bad for your health. Qailula after that, you feel drowsy, because here you're having the food, taking a short rest, and then having to wake up for Zohar, right? Your activity restarts. And these triphasic sleep pattern rejuvenates you, and your energy level is spiked up again. But if you alter this sequence, Zohar and then lunch and then sleep, then you will not sleep for 24 minutes. You will sleep up to Asr. That is the practice, you would agree with me, most of us, those who think they're having qailula, is doing. And that's a massive disservice to the body that you have. Instead of your energy levels going up, it actually goes down. Your body is messed up. Your circadian rhythm is absolutely messed up. So those who think they are having qailula are having it at the wrong time. Those who think they're having lunch, they're having it at the wrong time. No, naturally, they feel low throughout the day on energy levels. What was supposed to re-energize, it drains them even further. And because of the messed up schedule, they're getting less free time for themselves. So this is what I thought And now I think I've covered everything. I've covered everything. Salah, we are allocating 2 hours 24 minutes, 5 prayers, and the 6th one tahajjud. So 24 minutes into 5 is 1 hour 20 minutes. Sorry, 24 minutes into 6 is 2 hours 24 minutes. If you're praying for 2 hours 24 minutes, good for you, but most of us don't do that. So a salah time reduces. We take the rest to our free time. Sleep is 6 hours 14 minutes 24 seconds requirement, but we're getting 6 hours 46 minutes, at least 32 minutes, 31 minutes 36 seconds to be precise. So roughly 32 minutes we're getting more sleep, and perhaps even more on most of the days in the year, because Isha is earlier and Fajr is later. Food, I've allocated actually 5 slots. Though iftar and Asha is ideally should be a single unit. I've allocated, because for 5 names, let it be 5. So 2 hours, 24 minutes into 5 is 120 minutes, so 2 hours. You don't require 2 hours. What I'm saying is, even if you allocate 2 hours and work 7 hours 22 minutes, I've informed you why it should suffice. Focused, energized work suffices. You actually have free time 5 hours 28 minutes. 5 hours 28 minutes. Who has 5 hours 28 minutes free time today? Tell me. And because you're saving time in Salah, I'm not telling you to save time, but you know for yourself how much time you allocate to Salah, right? We are saving time on Salah. I'm not telling you to compromise your sleep. Let it be more, not an issue. Though we are still getting more than required. So you're extracting free time from Salah, you're extracting free time from food. Let work be 7 hours 22 minutes only. It's much more than 5 hours 28 minutes that I've shown you as per calculation. So I don't think I'll need to refer to my notes. The entire notes was prepared by me, and I was referring to it so that I should not mess up the time by too much, though things are known to me, not an issue at all. So you would acknowledge, I don't have to say again, I'll just address you, I'll just sort of summarize the entire thing for you. You would acknowledge that this is something very important, a very important topic, but it's neglected. You don't hear it, or do you? You know for that. I mean, you know that yourself. You don't hear any lectures, you don't have any books, because people don't know about it. Scholars don't know about it, and hence, how can they speak about it if they cannot speak about it? I mean, they don't know, so how can they speak? So this is not something that I'm able to speak and it gives me a lot of credit. No, it's a massive, what should I say, collective disservice, downfall of the Muslim Ummah as a whole, that this seems some superior sort of knowledge when it should have been simple daily routine as prescribed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it keeps the human body at an optimum level throughout the day. So this was the lecture, and now hopefully you would have understood why I called it by 2 different names: the ideal daily schedule of a human, not a Muslim, a human, and also the divine system of time for humankind as prescribed by Allah versus the Satanic-Dajjalic system of time. Satanic-Dajjalic system of time forces you to start your work at a time when the work should have ended by that time. So that was the entire lecture about. I hope more than hearing this lecture, we benefit out of this and we try to follow this. You would also say, hey, it's difficult for us to follow the schedule. I agree, it's difficult. But if you're unaware, if there's no cognizance, there's no knowledge, then we don't think about it. And if we don't think about it and we don't know we are trapped in the system, then there's no way to strategize a way out of it. That is more important. That's a key takeaway. If there is one key takeaway, it's not to rectify. You hear the lecture now, you rectify from the next second. That's not the purpose of this lecture. You give a fair thought and consideration. Then you begin to strategize how to go about it. And then you try to devise ways and means out of that. So that is it. We'll meet with other important sessions on other topics. Since I've already recorded this in Bengali Bangla, that is, and this is in the English version, I plan to record this lecture, this very important topic, in Hindi and Urdu as well. I'll do that. So that's it for today's session. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.